Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ryan and Elly show.
Hey.
So today, one of the topics, and we don't want this to be a deterrent for the male viewers, is going to be talking about the menopause. And it's something that I will be completely honest with, even up to like 7-8 months ago when Elly qualified, was probably relatively ignorant about it and lacking in knowledge and understanding, would you say?
Yeah, but so was I. And I do think that if there's any men listening to this who are wondering whether they should continue to listen, it's really important to take the time to listen, because you may thinking it may not relate to you, but if you have a partner or if you have work colleagues, part of your work team, a sister, a mum, who you think actually you could be providing them with support and help, then you're going to really be beneficial to your ladies in your life right now.
Yeah, and Elly ran a live workshop a few months ago, and I sent out an email to like our list about saying how important it was for people to become more knowledgeable on the menopause. I said the menopause does you say the menopause or menopause does affect men. And I got quite a negative response saying it doesn't affect men. It's like, yes, it doesn't hormonally affect men, but it does affect men in terms of they're living with women going through it, and they'll also be then impacted by it because of their lack of understanding. And actually sometimes having a little bit more understanding can help them help the women in their life, but it also will help them be able to prepare themselves for the changes that may go on in and around home, work, etc.
Yeah, and I think we're always talking about, all parts of a lifestyle, and we have to also understand the effects that it can have on our relationship physically, emotionally, and we will be discussing this in depth later on in this podcast. But there are changes that do happen in a relationship because of the symptoms that a female is experiencing, that they may personally themselves be put off doing or feeling a certain way, which is going to impact the partner. And if the guy in their life doesn't really, or other partner doesn't really understand what they're going through, it can cause like a huge barrier. And we hear about breakups because of what the transition has caused and how they're feeling.
Totally, and I think that when I was watching Elly go through, and if you don't know Elly, and you'll get to see throughout these podcasts as we do more and more of them, Elly has like such a driven focus when she's passionate about something. And when I saw her studying, it was literally very similar to when she did her PT qualification, when she did her pre and postnatal qualifications, paper everywhere. It was study. And then like basically passing that knowledge on to me, because I think that's one of the ways that Elly learns, is like she then wants to pass that knowledge on to show her knowledge, which then helps her reinforce her knowledge. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think when I was studying to become an executive menopause coach, I was doing it for my own personal reasons, but we have clients who are going through perimenopausal symptoms or have going into now the menopause. And I wanted to be able to have a further understanding, because I have to admit, even I didn't understand much about menopause. I just thought of it as someone who sweats, someone who can't sleep, gets a bit grumpy. That was literally my level of understanding. However, coming into like my age now, and the thing is, one thing that I keep getting said to me is, you're very young to be doing this now. You don't really need to worry about that right now. And that's the thing, is perimenopausal symptoms can start from our 30s. I'm 38 this year. And I'm becoming much aware of my body, how I'm feeling. And I definitely think that there's some symptoms that I'm experiencing, and I can notice how it has an effect on my relationship, how I'm with my moods, my energy levels.
Oh, so you're aware of that?
Oi. And that's one of the reasons. So I had that personal reason, understanding, well, this is going to be a chapter of my life that's actually not that far away. I wanted to be able to provide our clients with extra support and knowledge to then I could help them to feel better. This was a huge part for them. I want them to feel better. It doesn't have to mean it's all negative. It's just ways that we can adapt things. But then also, I've experienced my mum go through the menopause when I was younger, and I have this, and I've talked about this, I think, on my social media, that I have this guilt that I would find humour in watching my mum suffer. And that's why, for me, it's so important to be raising awareness about menopause, perimenopausal symptoms, so that it's not a taboo subject. We need to get comfortable talking about it, but also realising this isn't something funny for us females to be going through.
And I think that was the big thing that surprised me, was the emotional impact it has on women. And it's not just because of their hormones, it's because of the laughter, the mockery, the lack of understanding from a greater society. And it's almost like a thing that people don't want to talk about. And it's like, actually, it's one of the most natural things in the world. Like, all women are going to go through it, and we should be aware of it, and we should be comfortable talking about it. It's like women having periods, it's like women breastfeeding. These are all things that we're not comfortable talking about. People don't want to discuss. People want to try and brush it under the carpet, but it's actually like making these conversation points, making these conversations more open will only help women feel more comfortable when they are struggling. Because at the end of the day, the last thing you want is the women in your life, for the guys, for the women to feel unsupported. And I think that from me as a man, I'm thinking, I want to be able to support the women in my life when they're going through that change. I want to be able to support our female clients. And it doesn't mean you need to understand physically every single aspect of it, but it's just approaching the topic and being there from a form of empathy and being able to listen.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, one of the statistics when I was doing my studying said that 60% of women don't realise that what they're experiencing is perimenopausal symptoms. So you can imagine, for women who are experiencing symptoms where they don't feel themselves, there's over 48 symptoms physically, emotionally, hormonally. So if you're starting to recognise some changes to you, now this could be from your moods, this could be from changes to your menstrual cycle, this could be changes to your physical appearance, if you are noticing perhaps weight gain or digestive related symptoms, injuries that are appearing that haven't appeared in years. So and it's wondering, and often like females have this feeling that as if they're going mad because they can't really understand why they're feeling the way they are. And the tricky scenario is that often perimenopausal symptoms can be misdiagnosed, especially if you're starting to feel like changes to your mood, perhaps that you're starting to notice anxiety. So that's why it's really important, if you're listening to this and I'm hopefully towards the end of this podcast today, you will, understand like a little bit more possible questions that you could be asking yourself. And the one thing that I would be then saying is go speak to your GP. You can have blood tests, and really kind of like, if you're really starting to experience debilitating symptoms, put the pressure on your GP that you want blood tests.
That's what I was going to say. We've found a lot of GPs reluctant to do blood tests because age, because they don't think you fit what they think should be, going through menopause. And it's recognising that actually, like, GPs, I think they only spend like 1 or 2 days of their whole training doing female health. So that covers the whole aspects of like, from women having periods all the way through to menopause. So it is important to be a bit assertive and know if that's what you want to get tested and you want your bloods tested, to make sure that they are doing it and they are testing your hormones. And it may need to be done at several points throughout your cycle to recognise if there are hormonal changes. And I think that's the big thing from my learning, is how reluctant GPs, and it's not labelling them all, but a lot of them seem to be reluctant to be doing full bloods on women, when actually it can help gain greater understanding. It's not going to say everyone needs to go on HRT straight away, but it gives you more understanding what you're going through and makes a bit more sense of things. I think that's probably the biggest challenge, isn't it?
The thing is, there's this thing that we all think that we only need to worry about when we're in our 50s. But the reality is, as I mentioned, that we can start to experience symptoms from as early as 30. And the thing is, at this moment in time when we're experiencing these symptoms, they can be, the how we're feeling can be prevented through adapting our lifestyle. So there's ways that we can help you kind of feel better. And the best way to be able to do that is to understand exactly what you are experiencing, and then we can then go through different areas of your life, so how we could possibly help.
Okay, so let's go through a little bit of questions. Okay. I'm going to grill you a little bit. Let's go through, like, let's think of a few symptoms that are probably lesser known that people watching, whether it be women or whether it be men, recognising it in the women in their life. What symptoms would you say surprised you when you were learning more about it?
You really are putting me on the spot, because
I can tell you one that surprised me.
Okay.
Was like how people make huge life-changing decisions. That surprised me, how you were saying there was a statistic on some of them, like having a big complete career change, or you know, that type of thing surprised me, because now when you look and you can see, they just changed their job overnight, or they just ended a 20-year relationship, or you know, that type of thing surprised me.
So one in, like, this is a crazy, and I feel as if, like, I don't want to be reading off statistics, but the statistics really shocked me and, like, really played on my mind to kind of bring me the passion for why I wanted to help. So that's why I know these statistics. So 1 in 4 women are thinking about leaving their job role because they've lost confidence in themselves. And this is due to, often I say the comment to you, I'm having a brain fart. And so by that, like, I'm already noticing that I can have days where I'm forgetting my words. And so you can imagine, if you're in a job role where perhaps you are an executive, you're a team leader, a director, and so part of your job role or responsibility is to be able to speak in public or to speak to your team. And if you're starting to have these days where you're forgetting your words, maybe you're experiencing like anxiety, that bit of brain fog, you can lose a bit of confidence in yourselves, and you then start to wonder, should you then be doing this? Not only, so it's like kind of like in addition to the other symptoms you're experiencing, so like with the anxieties, perhaps that you've noticed change to your body, so then you're already feeling that your confidence is gradually decreasing because you're not recognizing yourself. And so then what happens then is you feel as if like you're put under this pressure and you don't have the confidence because we're not used to talking about what we're feeling. So rather than saying to the team or whoever I'm talking about, I'm really sorry, I've just forgotten my words, can I just take a moment and just refresh menopause? You know, we should be able to say that, like, because it's something so natural that we are all going through, that why can't us females be able to say, I'm really sorry, you don't have to use the word brain fart, but I'm really sorry, I'm just forgetting my words. So to make that situation so much easier for yourself, so there's less pressure. But unfortunately, because there's this feeling, especially in the workplace, where females perhaps are worried about their future in a job role because they're worried about their performance, because maybe, you know, they are feeling tired, they don't want to be getting up in the morning, their moods have changed. So so I definitely feel as if that's a symptom that I think is really important to be comfortable talking about, because it saddened me when I read about females walking out of their job, changing their job role. And this is a job role that they probably studied so hard towards and at one point in their life loved doing.
Cool. Like it.
Sorry, did I go? When I get into a topic, I can kind of maybe go off a little bit of a tangent, but I get so like heated.
Yeah, and like I'm interested in what you're saying, but my you know the way my mind, I'm racing and I'm like, what was I going to say? What was I going to say? And then now I'm like, what was I going to say?
So let's talk about. So I think what's really important is, because a lot of the time when someone comes to us and they're going through the menopause and they're feeling really low in confidence. We all focus on like our physical appearance. So a physical appearance is one thing that many clients come to us and explain to us, that they're experiencing this weight gain, they're feeling really tired, they're low in energy, they just want to lose weight. And the thing for us, and it really does apply with menopause as well, is weight loss, weight gain is a byproduct of the lifestyle we're living. Now, the thing is, with menopause, weight gain or losing weight can be more difficult, but not impossible. So the thing is, going through this transition is our energy levels are naturally lower, hormonally we're going through so many changes, we're going through sleep disturbances. By the way, I'm just going to quickly say, I don't want all this to be like really like doom and gloom. So this is where like I'm bringing it around and kind of like showing you how like it's not impossible. So what we do as coaches is it's all based around their lifestyle. So when we're talking about like weight loss doesn't have to be impossible, is we take into consideration that, the sleep changes. We then perhaps look at their foods, looking at foods to kind of make someone feel really good about themselves. And it's factors, even like looking at, certain supplements, like I said, about going to your doctors, getting blood tests, just so you know that you understand like where your hormones are. Now, the reason why I'm saying is I don't want this to feel like doom and gloom is because it doesn't have to be. The Kim Cattrall, and I love this quote, and I use this in my live seminar, is this is a chapter in your life that should be all about you, and the focus is about you becoming the best and feeling the best, and that is possible. It's just understanding and recognizing your own body and how we can make it feel good as well.
Yeah, and I think though, like touching on the weight gain, weight loss, it's recognizing that like when we gain weight, regardless to what point we're in our life, it's not because of menopause. It's often linked to lower output because our energy was lower, which has then caused us to gain weight. And it's one of those things where we'll hear a lot of, I've gained weight because I'm going through menopause. And it's like, slightly yes, but correlation doesn't mean causation. And it's important to sort of distinguish that difference, that actually you can lose weight whilst going through the menopause. Yes, like Elly said, it is more of a challenge, and it's being aware
That's
of that.
Actually,
Yes, you're going to find it harder to get up and have more energy in the morning, 100%, because hormonally your body just doesn't have that same get up and go. But then what typically happens when that happens, we make poor food decisions, which then lowers our energy even further. And we have this vicious cycle. And I think that one thing that we're recognizing with a lot of the ladies that we work with is actually what would give you more energy is when they will always answer the same things. Actually, maybe it's getting up, moving, going out in the fresh air. It could be nourishing your body with slightly more colour in your foods. Those are the things that your future self will thank you for. You'll feel better for them. You'll increase your output. Then before you know it, the weight gain stops. And if you have weight to lose, it starts to come off, yeah?
Yeah, I think it's...
I'm looking at Elly a bit like, yeah.
I'm like, can I talk now? That was where I was going, actually, because I remember doing a post and talking about, factors that, do go through and affect, like, how we're feeling. And obviously, mood's a huge one. Like, we have mood changes or mood fluctuations. You might find, like, things that you once loved, you no longer love. And that could be if you were once like an avid gym goer, and then today you've woken up and you feel as if like you've lost the love for that. And that's what's really important to address, is having less pressure on yourself, because right now you don't need additional pressure. But what is really important is to find out things that you do love. And to us, like any form of movement, so like Ryan said, if perhaps it's just going out, going for a walk, getting fresh air, for you to feel like as if you've done something that you're happy with. It could be involving a friend that you've not spoken to. But it's so important to kind of focus on things that you do enjoy and ease the pressure. It's obviously, I've touched on the sleep, but it's the same with the food as well, because another huge symptom as well is changes to our digestive system. So you may be experiencing IBS, you may notice changes to your toilet habits. So again, this may most likely affect your nutritional choices. But if you have to think, then if you're tired, if you're not feeling so good in yourself, this is going to be impacting your nutritional choices. It's also correlated and related to one another. And that's why I think if you were to just pick apart how you're feeling and understand certain factors that may be impacting it, so whether it's sleep, whether it's how you feel about yourself, if you're not moving, it's your energy levels, just find one thing that you know is going to help you feel better, then already you're doing better than what you were tomorrow. And that's what's really important. Ease the pressure, and literally it's one day at a time, because you don't know how you're going to feel tomorrow, but what you do know is that you're doing all that, you're making that decision or that choice to action step something that's going to help you.
Yeah, I love that. And I think one of the big things, like you said, that's helped you is a lot of women, and I'm a man and I can say this, women tend to find it so much harder to prioritize themselves. So then they're always putting other people first. They're putting work first, putting their partner first, putting their kids first. Then they have this added worry of they don't know what's going on in their body. How do they change that? How do they flip the switch and start to prioritize themselves? You're going to be fuming with me for asking that, aren't you?
You repeat the question.
Oh, what? So women tend to find it hard to put themselves first.
Yeah.
And they'll put work first, put their partner first, put their kids first, everyone else in their life. And then now they're suddenly starting to notice they've got other symptoms that they might be struggling with. They might be struggling with brain farts. They might be struggling with physical symptoms, i.e. feel like they've gained a bit of weight, sweats, waking up in the night. How do they then start to prioritise themselves? If they've always put everyone else first, what would be the first stepping stone for you to give them advice in terms of what they should do?
So one of the first things, and this is relatable to me because I feel I do this myself, is I ask the question, are my loved ones receiving the best version of me? And that's then becomes like a hit home moment, because I know for me, when I'm not feeling good in myself, and it could be for various reasons, like around my cycle, I'll have a low confident period. I then can be very snappy. I take it out on my loved ones. Apologies in advance.
So you know you do that.
Of course, it hits me home, and then I'm like, oh, and so then I get guilt. And so I think to myself, okay, I obviously don't want that to happen. And so I think, okay, I have to put myself first. I have to find a way for me to be the best mum, be the best wife, work colleague. In order for that, I need to find the way. And so I need to find ways for me to feel better myself. And I know automatically that if I'm eating better, if I'm fueling myself like nutritionally well, I definitely notice I feel better. It helps my digestion, and that's obviously a big part to me with me is I have a lot of digestive related issues, and so I know that when I'm feeling good in that respect, my mood's gonna be lifted. I know if I've taken a little bit of time for myself to clear my head, gone for a walk, I'm also going to use all the best version of me, because my mind's had that kind of time out, and I might not even be thinking anything. But it's just, and that's what's really important is it's not you being selfish, it's you being selfless, because actually your family deserve the best you, and only you can be making those actions.
Cool. Love that. And in terms of that then, let's talk a little bit, link it back to training. What advice should, a lot of the time we've seen it, women will come to us and they're running. Running seems to be the thing, and we know more prone to injuries.
Yes.
Running is a high impact thing. If they've not done any sort of training for quite some time, running probably not the first thing we would choose. Well, how would you go about the training side of things? Like, what should they be thinking about?
So naturally, with our hormones, as our hormones fluctuate and decrease, what happens then is like our bone density increases. So we can be more prone to osteoporosis. And in fact, now I was a statistic queen, I can't remember the statistic here, but there's a lot of women who experience their first fracture. So they will break the bone, is that the right terminology, during menopause, and that's simply because of the bone density that has decreased. So one way to help increase your bone density is through resistance training. So what you may find is if you are going through perimenopause or the menopause transition, is maybe old injuries are coming back. One common injury that a lot of women talk about is wrists. Could be your knees, lower back. I'm saying this as I'm feeling my lower back.
She's holding her wrist as well.
I am, only because I was speaking to Elly earlier on today about wrists. So for me, as I said, like resistance training is one way to increase your bone density. But also, we want to be looking at postural imbalances as well, especially if we're sitting at a desk for long periods of time. So the reason why we do resistance training is literally to help your joints and to prevent you from obviously getting an injury, postural imbalances, and literally we wouldn't want anyone to be going down osteoporosis.
And with resistance-based training, Ellie's not just talking about like you have to be pounding the weights in the gym. It could be doing boot camp type classes, it could be joining muscle pump, it could be doing body weight resistance bands, but it's applying the resistance against the muscles. So don't think you need to be pumping iron in the gym if that's not your thing, particularly if you are feeling lower in confidence. You don't want to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, but the resistance-based training is going to help you tenfold. It will also help from a muscle retention perspective as well, not just from a bone density, but you don't want to lose muscle, because when you lose muscle, if weight gain has become a thing, when you lose that weight, it's much harder to keep it off. Cool. Nutritionally. Yeah. Let's talk about nutrition and what sort of advice can we be doing there?
So naturally, as we talked on, energy levels are probably on the lower side. We're not sleeping as well, so naturally our output is probably less than what it was. But unfortunately, because it could be because of how we're feeling in terms of our moods, how we're feeling in ourselves, we could be experiencing depression, anxiety, our food cravings could be higher. We could be avoiding certain foods based on just how we're feeling and everything. Because our energy is so low, we may be going for foods that are, higher in calories because we're trying to replenish that energy that we think that we're missing. Yeah. So what tends to happen is we're consuming, it's the science that it's with everyone. We're consuming more calories than we're moving because our output has changed. So in order to kind of help how you're feeling, we have to look at the nutrient quality that we're eating. If we want to be feeling better, if we want to be helping getting our digestion moving, improve our toilet regularity, then the nutrient quality is really important. So I'm talking like, getting some colour in your diet. But obviously we also touched on energy levels, protein, and I know that we talk a lot about protein, but protein is really going to help you with your energy levels. It's going to help feel like keep you fuller for longer. It's going to help blood sugar levels. It's just like basically just a really well balanced meal. When you're looking at a plate, we don't need to overcomplicate it, but what I would be looking at, is there a source of protein, is there a source of carbs, and is there any colour on your plate? Perfect.
I love that. And one thing with the carbs, I'd be saying fibre as well, I think especially with the digestive implications, make sure we're getting fibre in as well.
Definitely.
Cool. Supplements. Obviously, many supplements on the market. Are they good? Are they not? What would your thoughts be? Is there any that we're finding?
Yeah, so one of the main supplement that was such a big... oh my God, I'm experiencing a brain fart. So I don't want to be on this podcast and I don't want to be prescribing supplements. That's not what I'm here for. So anything that we were talking about on this topic, definitely do your research, have a look. But definitely the one key supplement that was highly discussed on my executive menopause course was magnesium. And that's something that we're always talking about to anyone anyway. Yeah. It can really help with sleep quality. So if you're finding that you're waking up in the night, that can help improve. But also things like restless leg syndrome, which a lot of women experience, that can help with it. So it's definitely a supplement that if you're not already taking, have a read and think about whether it's something that, it could help you.
Perfect. Love that. And then next up, let's talk a little bit about relationships,
Yeah.
because I think that that's another factor that will particularly impact the men as well. And, I think from my side is, I would say, communication. I think nearly, probably whenever we go through these podcasts and we talk about relationship, communication is going to be key. But I think from a man's perspective, it's having that communication from the women of how they're feeling,
Yeah.
and being able to have that communicated to them so that they're able to support.
You're going to experience changes, and it's these changes you may be self-conscious about. So, it's changes, it's dryness, vagina, sex isn't going to feel comfortable. You may not want to be having sex as much as you were. So coming from the male side, the man may possibly question, the changes that are happening in their relationship. And I know that, and we're very open, so let's talk about me and Ryan, is, if me and Ryan aren't as active, as intimate, good word, not active, not rabbits.
Been a while, 2 kids, 4 years and no sleep.
Questions will be made, and what's happened to the relationship. And I think that's where communication on both levels is really important, to really understand what's happening, so you can help one another, because there are ways to help with the symptoms that you may be experiencing. There's things on the market now that can help to make sex more comfortable, but I do definitely think that it's important to have that conversation, and it's not, shouldn't be a taboo subject. It's something that's very healthy. It's part of a relationship, and it's important. It's a way to get close to one another.
100%. I think also, like, that's the intimate relationship, but then the other relationships in your life, like your social circles, or even like your colleagues at work, I think that's probably something that we need to get comfortable talking about, particularly at work, because I think that's, like you said at the start of this, is people are very apprehensive, even scared to discuss what they're going through, despite it being completely normal. And one thing that we've both seen when we talk to corporates about it is a tick box exercise. We've done a talk about it. We're what they call themselves, supporters of it, but they don't really understand it, and they're not providing any proper support.
Yeah, it's the support that's the missing link. There's a huge now drive and push for raising awareness, which is amazing. Creating infographics for both men and women to be looking at, having on back of toilet doors, so perhaps when you're on the loo you can read about it and things may ring home. But then it's how do they then continue to provide that support? Because you have to remember, although we may be experiencing similar symptoms, we are all different. We all have different lifestyles. We all have different pressures. We all have different personality traits that deal with how we're feeling. So that's why it's really important, the continual support. I know that some workforces in the UK have like a buddy champion. So this is someone who isn't connected to work. So you can only imagine if you're experiencing symptoms where you're really struggling to get up in the morning, you don't want to be coming to work, you're struggling with sweating, and there's no shower facilities for you, or you don't feel comfortable, or you need to go to the toilet a lot because you're noticing changes to your bladder, or perhaps that your periods have become so irregular that you are having to make all those toilet trips. But then you have perhaps, and I don't want to sound like sexist or stereotypical, but perhaps if you have men on your team who are then making comments about you and how many times you go into the toilet, it can then feel really uncomfortable then to have that conversation, depending on if your personality trait or how it is quite, quiet and reserved.
I have to say, before you did the course, I would probably be one of those people that would have taken a piss a little bit, thinking it's funny, because that's just what people do. But then that's why women are more less
are experiencing finding that they're getting comments where people are making a joke
of the office,
of how someone's. So that's why it's sometimes important to have someone externally to the workplace to be offering that support, because then there's no fear of judgment. You're not worried about your future and your job role. There's someone there to literally help you, give you advice, give you things that maybe might help you. Like I said about if you are standing and you're having to do a talk presentation, feel comfortable and confident in yourself that you're able to take a breath. You can look over your notes. It's absolutely fine. You can do this job role. Have that confidence in yourself. Not worried about the toilet trips. Not worried about asking for the windows to be open. Not worried about having a fan on your desk. There's these things that, is so much to think about, that why should someone have to worry about how many times they go to the toilet because they're experiencing something so natural, but because people don't truly understand
it. Yeah, and that, I think the big thing from that is, the way that I see it is, it's not the person. Do you say going through the menopause? The person experiencing menopause symptoms, probably through the transition, isn't the issue. It's other people's lack of understanding and knowledge that is the issue. And I think that if we all get more comfortable talking about it and sharing, did you hear that we do that? The more comfortable we get talking and sharing about it, the more it's only going to benefit everybody, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else that you feel like we've missed on the topic? I know it's something that we could probably talk for hours and hours about, but is there anything else that we've missed?
I just think what's really important, because often when we think about going through the menopause, we can have this kind of like fear or negative view about it. And the thing is, this is a new chapter that doesn't have to be so bad and fearsome of. This could be where this becomes about you. This is about, it has to be a focus about you. It's about becoming the best version of you. It's putting yourself first. And there's so much to look forward to. It's just understanding yourself more in terms of how you can feel better. And it actually might be a perfect time for for once in your life, you can listen to yourself and be like, do you know what? This is my time. I'm going to look at how I'm going to, fuel my body. I'm going to work on how I'm feeling in terms of like mentally, understand my thoughts, address my thoughts processes. So I'm going to take supplements that I know that are going to help my joints, know that are going to help me mentally. I'm going to stand up for myself in the workforce and have the confidence in my ability. Don't stop doubting yourself. And I think that's something that when I was doing my course I felt so sad that females lose confidence in themselves for something that they were loved doing. And it's even like, in their relationships. And all we need is just to have confidence to be able to talk about this, because those who love us want the best for us.
Love that. I don't think there's anything else I can add to that, is there? Boom, boom. So I think now, wrapping that up then, from a menopausal perspective, I think the most important message, like you said there, is people getting more comfortable talking about it, becoming more self-aware, and knowing if you do need any support, you do have any questions, obviously Elly's email address will be down below in the show notes for this, that you can ask any questions. Anything you ask on that is completely confidential. Obviously, if you're comfortable sharing a video question that you want us to answer on the podcast, we will do that. And I think that's the most important message, really, being comfortable talking about it and sharing about it. Let's normalise talking about menopause.
And you're not on your own.
No, never on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. We hope you found some value in today's podcast. If you did, please do make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. If you're comfortable giving it a share, please give it a share. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks very much.